We are a group of East Flatbush, and Flatlands neighbors, coming together to redefine our relationship with this land. When a community land trust stewards land, we can make decisions based on community needs, not just monetary profits.
My name is Julia Charles, and I'm the founder of the East 25th Street Historic District Initiative, and I live in East Flatbush. What led me to community work in East Flatbush was that my family and I, we were displaced from Hurricane Sandy and moved over into Brooklyn, and we just immediately fell in love with the smell of jerk chicken on corners and the music and all the colors and the gardens and all the fanfare with West End Day Parade and so forth. It's pretty crazy to see like beautiful Victorian homes being demolished and brownstone properties and buildings going up in their stead. It's just with like no respect to history or even the neighbors that have worked so hard to upkeep their homes. On East 25th Street, there are many beautiful gardens, and again, we have won the most winningest block of the Brooklyn Botanic Gardens Greenest Block in Brooklyn competition. So many of the homeowners here have brought their cultural gardening practices from back home, from all over the Caribbean or what have you, and brought them over to East 25th Street. It is very important to preserve the culture of East Flatbush because we have made contributions to the city like everyone else.
So my name is Timothy Hunter. I am a lifelong resident of East Flatbush. Recently moved out last year to Crown Heights. You know, even young people like me that go away for college and come back also can't afford to live here, which is a very serious issue we're seeing a lot of people face. I think also a big driver of this is, of course, the lack of regulation in rent, you know, the lack of access to rent stabilization. I mean, I think what I want to preserve the most is the culture and the heritage of East Flatbush. I think about Church Avenue and I think about how important it is for Brooklyn, for East Flatbush to continue to be East Flatbush. It starts with making sure that everyone has access, you know, to safe and affordable housing, and doing whatever it is that we can to preserve that. It also means access to spaces, you know, for mental health purposes or for recreational purposes.
I just bought my home here and I was very enamored of the neighborhood and the character of the neighborhood, that it was low-rise, it was small family homes, and it's had a real feeling of community and neighborhood. And shortly after I purchased my home, I was driving down Farragut Road, and I noticed that a lot of the homes were being torn down and very boxy condos, units were being put up. I found a family home that was worth, sold for like $500,000 on auction. The real estate company that bought it tore it down, put up a condo, and they subsequently sold that condo for in the neighborhood of $5 million. Now, when you sell a condo building for $5 million, it's not the same people who are going to be able to move into those condos that originally owned that home. So this whole process was displacing the community that was already here.
What led me to community work in East Flatbush? It happened gradually over time, and it was more more of a reaction, sort of a time of panic in the community that really got us together and got us started. there was development that was creeping in, what we now call overdevelopment, creeping in, real estate development creeping into our area. So we had a hard time getting everyone to come together. And that's one of the things that, I was president of this block association that was formed way back when for a good number of years. And one of the things that we were trying to do, one of our missions was to unite the people within the community, not just our neighborhood, but people within the community. We found that the renters, and there were more of the renters than homeowners, but the renters at that time didn't think it was their problem. I'm not going to lose my home, you know. So right away, that was a red flag for us, because this is something that would affect all of us. Because right now, those renters are they're trying to squeeze them out. A lot of them are in rent-stabilized apartments, and landlords and owners are trying to convert to market rate. So the whole overdevelopment issue affected everyone.
We're located on East 19th Street, I guess I would say in the heart of Flatbush. Wow, I can look back to when I was a kid in this building, and I mean the floors were always done. The building was completely swept and mopped from the 6th floor down every single day, 7 days a week. One thing that happened here is the owners got caught with a scheme that they were actually doing is sometimes they're legally evicting people. Because they want to get their hands back on these apartments. Because an apartment that probably rents for $800 on a rent control situation may go for $1,500, $1,600 or more in the regular market. And one of our issues is the building constantly changes hands, or either it probably stays with the same owner, but changes hands as far as management goes. And it seems like it's been a steady decline in the provision of services as we go. So rents go up, but the services, the rate or quality of service plummets, and that's what's happened here. I used to watch my mom go back and forth with the landlords about issues like mold on the walls and stuff like that, and to the point where she even got the rent reduced. And we feel that this is our home, and we'd like to stay here for as long as we want to, you know? Inspired us to start our own tenants association, which we did. And that, from there, we've never looked back.
I was led to do community work because I lived in East Flatbush and I wanted where I lived to be better than it was. And you know, you always complain, but sometimes it's good to get involved and make things happen and find out what's going on. It's a good way to know what exactly is going on and what needs fixing.
I was led to do community work in East Flatbush because I was born into it. The reality is I grew up at rallies, marches, organizing with the community, going to meetings, community board meetings and the like. And for me, it's just a continuation of everything I've always known, and just now with my own spin on it, knowing what our community needs for a new generation and with some new energy, new creativity, and just some new opportunities to do different things. The New York Times basically put on blast that we have an amazing space. Sometimes we didn't realize how amazing it was, but other people were seeing it. And what that meant is that people were being displaced, and it was becoming more and more unaffordable for most people in East Flatbush to stay here. So the goal is, how can we, knowing that we can't necessarily always rely on government or other entities, but how can we work together, reclaim some of that community spirit and work, and then be able to basically save ourselves.
My mom was sort of a community organizer in Jersey, and so being involved in the community was modeled for me at a very young age, and I think the spirit of that stayed within me. When I moved to New York in 2010 for college, one of the things I studied was urban design, and I was really drawn to the idea of being able to create spaces for people. But I also realized that real estate development in this city was very violent and is still violent, especially towards the Black community. When I moved to East Flatbush, I met Allison at a community board meeting. It was a land use committee meeting, and I volunteered to support their efforts, their anti-displacement efforts.
I think that community land trust would give residents a feeling of having some control over their environment, of having a say as to what happens to their communities. Right now, we feel that, you know, there's no justice for us. And I feel that that is one of the things that it would give people a sense of, hey, I'm a part of the decision-making process. We can make a decision as to how we use the land in our area, in our neighborhood. So that's why I'm very interested in being a part of and learning more about community land trusts.
The Brooklyn Level Up Community Land Trust is a group of East Flatbush, Flatbush, and Flatlands residents coming together to redefine how our land is used.
Our mission is to create and preserve truly affordable residential and commercial spaces and outdoor community spaces. Spaces that reconnect the ties that bind us to one another.
We'll create spaces by purchasing what is now considered private land, as well as work with the city to activate public land for the public good.
We're also exploring forming a community investment pool to help fund development, increase community buy-in, and wealth.